This year marks our 135th anniversary. We celebrate our anniversary in a city named for a great and saintly Catholic king, a city of missionaries, a gateway city opening up the promise of a new continent. And like those early missionaries, we come to St. Louis because, in the words of this year's convention theme, we are convinced of God's love and power.
In August 2017, the Knights of Columbus held its 135th Supreme Convention in St. Louis, Missouri. Attending were Brother Knights and delegates from across North America, Europe, and Asia.
Our theme comes from Pope Francis's World Day of Peace message. He praised those who, rather than resort to violence, are so convinced of God's love and power that they are not afraid to tackle evil with the weapons of love and truth. My brother Knights, each day we tackle the evils of our times in ways large and small.
No doubt there are real challenges that we face. Growing indifference to spiritual things, deepening secularism in society, increasing polarization in our communities. But we trust that the same Spirit who inspired the great saints in previous generations are still at work in ours.
Archbishop Robert Carlson celebrated the opening Mass with over 90 bishops, including 12 cardinals, and a special delegation of courageous bishops from the Middle East. The hierarchy joined with their brother priests and deacons, together representing every nation in which the order is active.
I think the celebration of the Eucharist has been the highlights for me in this Supreme Convention. How better way can we speak about love, if not for the Eucharist, so that we can continue to live out our lives fully as members of the Knights of Columbus.
The Holy Father sent an official greeting, thanking the Knights for being bold instruments of God's love and power out in the peripheries of the world and culture.
His Holiness is especially appreciative of the unremitting efforts of the Knights of Columbus to defend and promote the sanctity of marriage and the dignity and beauty of family life. And in a very particular way, Pope Francis has asked me to express his gratitude for the commitment of the Knights to supporting our Christian brothers and sisters in the Middle East in their witness of fidelity to the Lord, often borne at great personal cost.
The Knights received greetings from heads of state and welcomed members of the hierarchy and other special guests in proceedings that were shared live around the world in multiple languages on 3 Catholic networks. In his annual State of the Order address, the Supreme Knight offered evidence of God's power and love at work through the Knights. For the 18th consecutive year, the Order set new records for charitable donations and volunteer hours around the globe.
Every day, Knights serve as our Lord's hands. And last year we did so as never before. The Knights of Columbus reached an all-time high in charitable giving with more than $177 million donated. And we also set a new record for the time volunteered by Knights, 75 million hours. These overall numbers are impressive, but it is the lives changed, more than the numbers, that show what we do as Knights.
The power of God's redeeming charity is transformational for those who have experienced a natural or man-made disaster. Knights responded to the victims of Hurricane Matthew in North Carolina and the Caribbean, and those displaced by devastating floods in Louisiana.
Water came in from all directions, and it turned our city upside down. From day one, when the Knights were created, it was built on charity. Charity is something that you can't put a price on. We give back to those that need help, and that's what being a Brother Knight is all about.
That support for disaster victims continued this August, when Brother Knights in Texas and Florida responded to the devastation caused by Hurricanes Harvey and Irma with money raised, meals, relief supplies, and heroic acts of service. Knights also serve those with special needs and intellectual disabilities through Special Olympics.
The mission of Special Olympics and the mission of the Knights of Columbus dovetail beautifully to reinforce the infinite value of every human life.
Knights supported those with physical needs through the Global Wheelchair Mission and continued with the sponsorship of blood drives. Knights were instruments of God's power to feed the hungry through the Order's Food for Families program, which donated nearly 3 million pounds of food last year. And over 1,700 councils provided new winter coats for more than 88,000 children through the Coats for Kids program.
Knights teamed up with former NFL players to provide coats to kids.
I'm fortunate enough to be able to use my time in the NFL to make a difference. You know, there are real men out there who have faith, and the Knights of Columbus go on and do good things.
Membership in the Order grew for the 45th consecutive year to an all-time high of 1,941,728 men.
The more we live the principle of charity, the more attractive the Order will be, not only to younger men, but also to many Catholics who have strayed from their faith, yet who are looking for some kind of an anchor in their lives.
An encouraging sign for the Order was the growth of the College Council program. College councils on 363 campuses continue to be a natural path for young men into the Order.
We're told by a lot of different sources what it is to be a man, and it can be really challenging. And having other men who are going through that and who can support you, and we hold each other accountable to be better.
In every aspect of my faith journey, I've had my brother Knights, to back me up. And when I've had a difficulty, they've always been there. And it's irreplaceable. There's nothing like it.
The Order had its 80th consecutive year of local council growth for a new high of 15,589 councils, including the Republic of Korea.
It gives me so much joy to see how the Knights of Columbus are growing far beyond the United States. It's growing in various countries in Europe. It's growing now in Asia. Those are great signs of how we're really Catholic. We're universal in the best sense.
Membership offers Brother Knights a variety of opportunities to become better husbands and fathers who are convinced of God's love and power present within their families.
The Knights of Columbus supports families in their vocation to holiness through our Building the Domestic Church while strengthening our parish initiative. This program helps our families become stronger Catholic families by strengthening the connection between family life and parish life.
During the past 2 fraternal years, 13,000 prayer services have been held through the Holy Family Prayer Program, with more than 2,300,000 participants.
Last July, we sponsored the site for English-speaking pilgrims attending World Youth Day in Krakow. The Mercy Center held the largest World Youth Day gatherings outside of the papal events. And on the final day, we hosted the meeting of Pope Francis with 12,000 World Youth Day volunteers.
Jesus, you're my hope and stay.
World Youth Day is really a moment allowing young people the ability to see all the aspects of the church. This really opens wide the doors of their own heart. For the Knights, the promotion of vocations and helping especially young people discover just where and how God is calling them to serve, I think is an obvious way that the Knights of Columbus help the church and help its young leaders.
In other global outreach, the Knights offered God's love and power to AIDS orphans in Uganda and Kenya through the loving attention of the Apostles of Jesus.
And we are continuing our partnership with the organization Charity Water to build 20 new clean water wells, 10 in Ethiopia and 10 in Uganda.
Patriotic Witness is the work of Knights who not only show love and respect for their home countries, but also for the men and women who defend them. Last year, 17,689 patriotic Sir Knights joined the Fourth Degree, bringing membership to a record of 358,907. The Supreme Knight made an historic announcement.
Throughout the history of the fourth degree, its official regalia has changed with the times. The Board of Directors has decided that the time is right for a modernization of the fourth degree uniform. Beginning today, the uniform of the fourth degree is a blue blazer with fourth degree emblem, dark gray slacks, a blue fourth degree tie, white shirt, and a black beret with the fourth degree emblem.
Fourth degree Knights continued their long history of bringing the power of God's love to veterans and active personnel at VA hospitals and military installations around the globe. Working with the Archdiocese of the Military Services and 66 active military councils, the Order provided scholarships for future military chaplains, prayer books for spiritual formation, and sponsored more than 190 wounded troops and veterans, family members, and chaplains on the annual pilgrimage to Lourdes. At the heart of the Order's power to care for families are the insurance programs that secure their financial future. Last year, the insurance program achieved its 16th consecutive year of growth, with a record high of $8.540 billion in new sales.
The Knights of Columbus now has $105 billion of life insurance in force, a $50 billion increase in the last decade, and a 4.4% increase over last year.
The Knights ranked number 880 in the Fortune 1000 list of America's companies last year, and the Ethisphere Institute named it a 2017 World's Most Ethical Company. The Order shares this experience of God's providential power through its asset advisors and church loan programs in service to parishes and dioceses. Last year, the Order also supported the Church during the canonization of St. Teresa of Calcutta, the U.S. Bishop's Fortnight for Freedom, and a convocation of Catholic leaders. In February, the Supreme Knight met with Pope Francis to discuss the activities and the priorities of the Knights of Columbus, and to present him with $1.6 million from the Vicarious Christi Fund. In conjunction with the Holy Year of Mercy, the Order produced a new documentary film, The Face of Mercy, which aired across the United States on ABC. Liberating a Continent, John Paul II and the Fall of Communism was honored with 2 Emmy Awards and was televised nationally in Poland and Ukraine. At the St. John Paul II National Shrine in Washington, D.C., Knights sponsored an historic exhibit on St. Thomas More, a powerful witness of God's love and freedom, and the patron of statesmen and politicians. While the Order honors great saints like these, Knights also pray for the beatification of the venerable servant of God, Father Michael McGivney.
His life, vision, and virtue inspired the founding of our great order, and his cause remains active at the Vatican. We should all continue praying for Father McGivney's intercession, and I would ask that any possible miracles or favors received through his intercession be reported to the Father McGivney Guild.
Young religious and priests like Father McGivney received the Order's support first through the Refund Support Vocations Program, which distributed nearly $4 million last year.
Since 1882, Knights have had to answer the following question: can a good Catholic also be a good citizen? Now as then, our answer is a resounding yes. If we are serious about building a culture of life, then we must be serious about stopping America's #1 cause of death. And the #1 cause of death in this country is abortion.
The Knights have donated 829 ultrasound machines to pregnancy centers.
When I first found out I was pregnant, I was very scared, and I didn't know what I was going to do. My first ultrasound was amazing. I couldn't believe that I could see a baby that small.
These machines have already saved hundreds of thousands of lives. But we can still do more. So let us continue this great effort by reaching the goal of 1,000 machines as soon as possible. And if each of these machines saves the lives of just 4 unborn children a week, then with 1,000 machines on the 10th anniversary of this initiative, we will have saved more than 1 million lives.
Brother Knights continue to tirelessly advocate for religious freedom around the world. Last year, the Order also initiated Days of Prayer for national healing and defended Columbus Day in 6 states against efforts to rewrite history and suppress the holiday.
Today, faithful citizenship requires us to continue to defend religious liberty.
Knights have responded to God's call to support and stand with Christians at risk in the Middle East. The Order will co-sponsor another National Day of Prayer for this persecuted minority in November 2017. The Supreme Knight announced a bold step to save Christians in Iraq.
This weekend, your board of directors has authorized a new effort to raise $2 million to save a Christian town in the Nineveh Plain. The town the Knights of Columbus is saving is Karemdez. It is a town in Iraq that until recently was controlled by ISIS. For $2,000, a council, a parish, or an individual can move a Christian family back home.
I want to say thank you for your love. Today, the Knights of Columbus, you are supporting the Church of Jesus.
During the convention, a special Mass for persecuted Christians was said by Cardinal Donald Wuerl with a moving homily from Cardinal Sean O'Malley.
We must contribute to the building up of the civilization of love. Centuries of misunderstanding, bigotry, persecution, and hatred have produced the horrendous situation that we face today.
On Tuesday evening, more than 2,000 knights, delegates, their families, and guests celebrated together at the Festive States Dinner. The Order was privileged to bestow its highest honor, the Gaudium et Spes Award, on Maryknoll Father Gerard Hammond, a 4th-degree knight who courageously journeyed into North Korea more than 50 times over the course of more than 2 decades to bring humanitarian assistance.
I stand before you in deep gratitude for your love and concern for hearing the cry of the poor. I am your eyes and ears as I continue on the journey of hope and peace in Korea.
Keynote speaker Cardinal Daniel DiNardo challenged Brother Knights to keep going to the peripheries of fraternal charity.
There is no more boundary when it comes to, but who are you neighbor to? Pope Francis is pushing this. The Knights of Columbus are responding.
At the annual award session, the Supreme Council recognized the exceptional achievements of knights convinced of God's love and power around the world. On the final day of the convention, delegates, their wives, and families gathered for a memorial mass for the brother knights who had passed away during the fraternal year.
Father McGivney taught us the capital importance of seeing Christ in the widow, the orphan, the outcast, the vulnerable. Yes, dear friends, our hope should run high for those we commend to the Lord today, as well as for ourselves and for our loved ones, provided that every day we recommit ourselves to the works of charity, indeed, to a life of charity.
During the final business session of the convention, delegates adopted resolutions in defense of religious liberty, in solidarity with persecuted Christians, and in prayer for national unity, building the culture of life, in support of the armed forces, and honoring Bishop Thomas V. Daly, Supreme Chaplain Emeritus, who passed away this year. As the meeting came to a close, the Supreme Knight thanked the Brother Knights in St. Louis on behalf of the entire order, and announced plans for next year's convention in Baltimore, Maryland.
My brother knights, we have much to celebrate this year. We have set new records in charity. We have set new records in the protection of Catholic families. We have had the strength and ethical nature of our insurance program internationally recognized. We have helped AIDS orphans in Uganda, homeless refugees in Ukraine, persecuted Christians in Egypt, Christian survivors of genocide in Iraq, child refugees from North Korea, typhoon survivors in the Philippines, flood victims in Mexico and the United States, and people with disabilities in Vietnam, Cuba, and Haiti. We have expanded our charitable and our evangelization efforts. We have built up the domestic church by strengthening the marriages and families of our members, and we have continued our strong defense of persecuted Christians in the Middle East. We have had, by any measure, our greatest year ever. This year, let us be in even greater ways who we are called to be as Brother Knights. Let us strive to be authentic witnesses of how to care for one another and how to encourage and accompany one another. We can and we will do these things as the spiritual sons of Father McGivney. We can and we will do these things because we are convinced of God's love and power.